Good morning, everyone. This video intends to ventilate upon the life and works of Allen Ginsberg, one of the pioneers of the Beat generation in the 1950s America, who went on to become one of the most celebrated poets in the world, influencing many generations of poets to come. It is perhaps difficult to identify what was more intriguing and interesting, Ginsberg's life or his poetry, as both were mutually inclusive in shaping each other and the time of then contemporary post World War II scenario. Allen Ginsberg is one of the 20th century's most influential poets, regarded as a founding father of the Beat movement and known for works like Howl and America as well. Born a Jewish, a practicing Buddhist, and a disciple of Krishnaic Vaishnavism, Ginsberg was an unorthodox communist as well. Like his life, his works were as versatile thematically and an influence of his multidisciplinary interests. A strong advocate for sexual liberation, anti capitalist, and anti militarist ideologies, Allen Ginsberg, in his works, painted the world in his work, voicing the concern to do away with fascist watchdogs not only in the socio-political scenario but the very structure of poetry by radical use of pyrotechnic verse using the parataxis style prevalent in the works of Walt Whitman, Federico Garcia Lorca, Samuel Beckett, as well as his contemporaries of the Beat generation like Herbert Hunk and William S. Burroughs. Ginsberg coined the term a new vision inspired by W.B. Yeats' A Vision. And there is a very interesting fact. He was a bisexual, and a model named Peter Orlovsky was his companion for long 40 years until his death in 1997, April 5th. In 1954, Ginsberg moved to San Francisco and became part of the countercultural gathering that would come to be known as the Beat movement, which used a number of artistic and sensory modes to eschew rigid rules of society. After discussion with Lucien Carr, who was a contemporary, while in Columbia University, so as to shape the works of the movement, where he declares the radical proportion of the entire Beat generation others. And he said, it is our duty to break the law. He was a revolutionary. He was a revolutionary in his life and his poetry. Next, we are going to discuss about this particular poem, America by Ginsberg. Actually, the vision of America by Ginsberg is influenced by Walt Whitman, who was a famous American poet. America is a poem by Allen Ginsberg written in 1956 while he was in Berkeley, California. And this poem, America, appears in his collection Howl and Other Poems, published in November 1956. This poem, Howl, is considered as a masterpiece of Allen Ginsberg. The poem is presented in a stream of conscious literary format which is inaugurated by James Joyce in his famous novel Ulysses in 1922. America, the poem America is a largely political work, with much of the poem consisting of various accusations against the United States, its government, and its citizens. Ginsberg uses sarcasm to accuse America of attempting to divert responsibility for the Cold War. In this poem, there are many prominent themes such as the previous wars of the decade, nuclear warfare, and the foreign policy in Asia. Other major themes include racial unrest in the United States and a resistance against communism. America is a summary of Ginsberg's political views and an analysis of the situations in the United States during this time. I don't want to recite the entire poem right now because it's a long poem, but I will give you a short description of this entire poem. Allen Ginsberg's poem America is an active expression of Ginsberg's disappointment and his anger towards the American culture. Much like his other works, Ginsberg voices his frustration with the capitalist agenda and racial as well as religious prejudice and the war culture that dominates America in the 1950s. Allen Ginsberg uses informal diction to replicate confrontational speech against his own culture, against his own country. Each line is its own sentence, often beginning with America. In this poem, at the beginning of the poem, he addresses his country as America in a disrespectful manner. What the word, when in this way, his repetition directly addresses his audience with each line, emphasizing his earnest pleas and questions. If we analyze the mood of the poem, America begins very aggressively. The first stanza includes crude language, very crude language, especially the line in which he says, "Go, fuck yourself with your atom bomb." He is against the war culture of America. And he says in the first line of the poem, "Go, fuck yourself with your atom bomb." This language captures the forceful, intense anger Ginsberg feels towards the war culture in America, particularly post-World War II. The hostile and abrupt language also mimics the culture of America. Later, the tone shifts to defiant as Ginsberg flashes his small acts of rebellion, especially his involvement in communist cell meetings and habitual marijuana use. He was a well-known marijuana user. He openly rejects Christianity, emphasized by that he is contributing for atheism and atheistic philosophy. And in this poem, he emphasized by the fact that he never says the Lord's Prayer. He never says the Lord's Prayer. He never waits for the mercy of God. Ginsberg backtracks, however, when he realizes that he is contributing to the problem. He actively reads the news and participates in government-funded programs such as movie theaters and libraries. he concedes regretfully that I am America. And the conclusion of the poem is both sarcastic and resolute. He mocks the uneducated and unintelligent people, and as well as the racism of the country as well. The poem America contains aggressive, dark imagery and references to many figures and events that occurred in the year in which it was written. By including these references, Ginsberg gives his poem a sense of validity because he provides evidence for his argument. He references Tomuni, Sacco, and Vanzetti, and the tension between America, Russia, and China that drove American politics at this time. He is writing about the contemporary politics in America. Ginsberg pleads with America, asking it to look at itself through the grave, implying that war and violence has killed its citizens and that the country serves as a burial ground for those who suffer under its oppressive culture. He claims the libraries are full of tears, implying that American history and news comprises mostly of tragedy and death. That's why he claims libraries are full of tears. And he is implying that American history and news comprises mostly of tragedy and death due to the war culture of America. He states that America's machine, alluding to its heavy factory industry, has become too much for him. America's plum blossoms are falling. He is talking about agriculture, as the illusion of the American dream can no longer conceal the pain that many Americans, particularly minorities, who endure every day. Allen Ginsberg's America expresses similar resentment with the country as that present in Howl. Howl is his another famous poem. Like he presented in Howl, in the poem America also he shares his thoughts and his similar feelings. He finds the government's active role in religion and societal norms extremely oppressive, and he determines that he will continue to defy these customs through his work and lifestyle. Allen Ginsberg was an important scenes of post-World War II America. Ginsberg's critiques of American culture can be found throughout many of his writings. Not only this poem America, but we can see that in his several writings. In these works, Ginsberg often criticizes systems such as capitalism, militarism, discrimination, etc. And he believes that driving force behind the destruction of American glory and natural beauty is America's attitude and his dominating war culture. This poem, America, introduces many of Ginsberg's problems he holds with contemporary American society. He begins by attacking the rising militarism of the country. And he concludes the poem by the revelation of his bisexuality as well. It is pretty clear that Ginsberg only wants to live in a place where people are relaxed and peaceful. hence his love for smoking weed with a laid back attitude. He openly admits, I smoke marijuana every chance I get, and thus reinstills his rebellious behavior. He goes on tangents and stands up for unpopular beliefs, particularly addressing the Wobblies, who were a radical protest group under the Industrial Workers of the World Union. He states, in America, I feel sentimental about the Wobblies. America, I used to be a communist when I was kid, and I am not sorry. He is not regretting to be a communist. It shows that he makes it a point to go against norms and support groups that were frowned upon in the United States at the time. In addition to going against norms, Ginsburg makes it a point to be abstract with his words. He is not only getting angry with America, but he himself, he says, it occurs to me that I am America. It occurs to me that I am America. It seems as if he is critiquing his own self through his words. And he says like, I am talking to myself again. I am talking to myself again. He is critiquing himself here. Jumping to the last line of the poem, Ginsburg makes an announcement that he is ready for change and he is going to do something about it. America, I am putting my queer shoulder to the wheel. Ultimately, this poem works to establish Ginsburg's complaints and concerns about his own country, so much to the point where he is ready to take action. Thank you.